I'm Tony van Veen, CEO of Discmakers. If you've been paying any attention to music industry news or to my videos, you already know that Universal Music Group acquired Downtown Music, the parent company of CD Baby, FUGA, and a whole bunch of other indie infrastructure. Now, Warner Music announced that they're acquiring indie distributor Revelator. And that's on top of the indie distribution that the majors already own. Sony has owned indie giants The Orchard and AWAL for years. Universal owns Ingrooves, Warner owns ADA, and has invested in AI mastering and distribution platform Lander. TuneCore is owned by large indie label Believe, and DistroKid is the only independently run major distributor at this point, though they're owned by private equity and are rumored to be for sale. So who knows how long that independence will last. So what's going on here? Why are the majors buying up all this independent distribution infrastructure? More importantly, should you as an independent artist care? And what does this mean when you want to get your next album out there? Let's dig in, shall we? So what is actually going on? Let me keep this simple. In the old days, major labels controlled everything. They made the records, they distributed them, and they controlled how fans consumed music. I mean, the big labels literally owned everything from recording studios to pressing plants, and companies like Sony and Philips even made the players that you listened on. But today, those days are long gone. Now, Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube control the listener experience. They control the algorithms, and they have a lot of power. At the same time, independent artists now make up a huge portion of what is being streamed, about 30% of all streams, all of which is making the majors nervous and has them asking, how do we regain some control? And here's the simple answer. They're buying the pipes, the infrastructure that gets music from the artist to Spotify and the other platforms. Distribution, publishing admin, rights management. If the majors control more of that pipeline, they gain more leverage in negotiations with the streaming platforms, more visibility into what's working, which artists are gaining traction, and how fans are behaving, and more influence over the overall ecosystem, including down the road things like AI monetization. So yes, this is about leverage over DSPs, over data, and over the system itself. That's the game. And what does this mean for you? Let's break it down. In the short term, frankly, not much changes. You still need distribution, you still upload your music, you still get paid. CD Baby, TuneCore, DistroKid, they still do what they do. So right now, there's no reason to panic. Longer term, however, there are fewer truly independent options, and this is where things could shift over time. As more of this infrastructure gets consolidated, there are fewer pure indie paths, more of the system is controlled by the larger players, and over time, that can influence pricing, terms, and company priorities. Now, does that mean you're suddenly at a disadvantage? Not automatically, but it does mean that decisions made by these platforms may increasingly reflect the interests of their parent companies, and that may not always align with what's best for independent artists. Look, it's too early to say whether this will be good, bad, or indifferent. In the short term, nothing's changed. Long term, we need to watch it closely. Which brings us to the most important question. What should you do differently? And here's my advice. Number one, don't overthink your distributor. Your distribution matters, but it's not your strategy. You need one, pick a solid one, get your music out, then move on. Number two, own your audience. I recently did a whole video series on this. I'll link to it in the pinned comment. Owning your audience becomes even more important in a more consolidated system. You can't continue to rely on Spotify, Instagram, and TikTok for your fan relationships. You don't own those fan relationships when they're on one of the large streaming or social platforms. No, you need an email list, direct fan connections, and ways to reach your audience without an algorithm in the way. Number three, treat streaming as discovery, not income. I've been saying this for years. Streaming is good for discovery. It's not good for making money. Use streaming to grow your audience, then monetize elsewhere. Number four, build revenue outside the distribution system. Focus on what you can control. CDs and vinyl, merch, direct sales on your website or Bandcamp, live shows, and fan experiences. That's where real revenue happens. And five, stay flexible. Things are moving fast. Pay attention to your distribution terms, your music rights, whether your distributor gives AI companies access to your music, and how platforms evolve in this shifting landscape. You don't want to get locked into something that you can't eventually get out of. So here's the bottom line. I know I covered a lot, but here's my key takeaway. Your success does not depend on who owns your distributor. In fact, it never really did, despite what many artists think. Your success depends on whether you build an audience, connect with that audience, and give them ways to support you directly. Do that well, and you'll be fine, regardless of who owns the pipes. Thanks for watching. Knowledge is power. Hope to see you next time.